All right, good evening, everybody. We'll go ahead and start our meeting. It should be a fairly relaxed meeting, so we can do introductions today. And I've been in a couple meetings where it was like, you call on the next person, and when there's 50 people in the meeting, it got super confusing about who to call on next. I like doing it by the sectors. So, we'll start up in the Northwest sector, because usually I can pick out there's, one or two of you. And those of you who are new or unaffiliated with the sector just come at the end. So up in the Northwest, do we have anybody on from Northwest today? I'm thinking not.
Jim Duran, Finney Hub.
Thank you, Jim. Now that we've merged the sectors together, I'm always going to screw that up for a little while. And then Northeast.
And Forest, Victory Heights Hub. Brianna.
Brianna.
Brianna, Maple Leaf.
And Melissa.
Yeah, I'm Melissa. I'm from the U Heights Hub in U District.
And then we go down to Central West.
Okay, this is Bill Fay with the Queen Anne Hub.
Thanks, Bill.
Steve Hall in Belltown.
Andy Peck, originally from Belltown. Now I'm extreme southeast in Maple Valley.
And Frank Gall, Magnolia Hub.
Excellent. And Central East. I am not seeing anybody tonight from Central East. Oh, wait. Louise, we missed you back up in Northeast. Oh, you're on mute. Louise, you're on mute.
I had muted myself, so I said it, but nobody heard me, and then I did it again. But it's Louise Laurelhurst.
Thank you. All right, and then after Central East,
Tashana's here from Northeast.
Deb's meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm losing. There's people that have been popping in, and I've lost it. Tashana, which one? Wave your hand. Oh, nice. Okay, I didn't see the first name, so poof. Thank you. Good to have you join us. Anybody else from Central East? And also the transcription gets in the way of everybody on the bottom, so I miss out names down there. Central or Southeast? I see Susan Sanders and Terry would be Southeast.
Hello.
And the hub that you're with?
I'm not quite, I've been here for 6 days. I'm not exactly sure of the name.
Oh, well, I was hoping you'd remember because it's one of the Pea Patch hubs.
It's one of the Pea Patches. It's one of the Pea Patches.
It's down in the Rainier Valley. So she is like our
maybe
newest.
It's the Oregon Street Pea Patch, maybe?
I'll look it up. I'll get it right in the minutes. How's that? So, and Susan Sanders?
Yeah, I'm here from the Dejan Park Hub.
Great, welcome. And Southwest Sector. That would be me from the Morgan Junction Hub.
And me.
Anna?
Yeah, Joanne at the South Park Hub.
Yep.
Transplant moved over here.
And people, she was at the Peace Lutheran Hub and just moved to South Park and just picked right that up. And then Erica.
Yeah, Erica from the Highland Park Hub.
And then the folks who are kind of unaffiliated, I see Laura and Catherine. Laura?
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Jenkins with the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods, and I'm a community engagement coordinator in Central Seattle. So I cover neighborhoods between the Ship Canal and I-90. And then there are other community engagement coordinators who are also with our department that cover the other parts of the city. So I'm just on to hear different updates and also here to suggest any resources too, if you all have any questions. Thank you.
And I'll throw in a comment that Laura Jenkins was instrumental in equipping the Belltown Hub.
Oh, you have a good memory. That's right. She sort of floated around this topic, not just a geographic thing, but her interest is wide varied. So Catherine Middleton.
Thank you.
Hi, yes. So I actually live in Central Western Magnolia. So I'm
affiliated with Frank and Bill. But I'm here tonight representing the Auxiliary Communication Service, Seattle ACS, as the amateur radio support for your hub activities. So thank you.
And then Hugh, go ahead and introduce yourself.
As soon as I unmute. Hugh Kelso, hub captain at Kirka Park.
Great. Okay. So I'm glad we had time for introductions. That's always nice so that everybody can match up faces and locations and learn your sector partners. I'm not going to bother folks with notes tonight. I think I'll be able to just take the notes, and with the recording that helps. If you have anything that you're sharing, do put it in the chat, because that does help when I end up doing notes, especially if we get into something and you're thinking about a link or some concept you want to make sure you share with everybody. Do that. And so we're going to just launch into stuff. And like I said in my intro, email to everybody, if you've got something special you want to bring up, flag me at some point, or you can bring it up during Around the Room. So I want to cover a little bit more about what we are thinking of doing with the field exercise in September. So thanks to everybody who was on the deep dive, where we just collectively made some decisions about broad strokes. And then Ann and I are going to work on some of the details. Normally we would create a committee so that everybody gets some practice training, but because this one is just, super easy to put together, it wouldn't be, worth dragging people into several meetings just for that. There will be times where we want to ask people about inputs, and we might reach out for, just some special discussions. But today, what we nailed down and I sent out to everybody is kind of the timeline. We're using these next month or so to go get our location, start the publicity process as soon as we have the locations, so that we can create materials that you can send out to your hub team to say, mark this date, we're going to go practice, and your neighborhoods to say, we need citizen actors, please come to these locations for us. We'll do the north one on September 18th. Ann is working on that location, hopefully North Seattle College or maybe one of the parks up there. And the September 25th one in the south locations will be, I'm hoping Jefferson Park. I'll hopefully know that on Monday. So you can, that's the going in plan. There was discussion, and the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight with everybody was, and I'm glad that Frank and a couple of the other people are on, is that I'm just looking to see who just joined. There were a couple of major processes that I know go on in hubs that are different than at other hubs. And one example is specifically at Ballard. They have a different way of managing their needs and resources matching. And I was hoping Cheryl might show up. Hugh, have you ever done a exercise at Collins Hub where they use just note cards to do the matching?
Okay. At Ballard Commons, you mean? No, I didn't participate in that. And yeah, by the way, I talked with Cheryl before this meeting. She's not feeling good tonight, so I'm gonna fill in for whatever.
That's just one variation that we might bring in, because if everybody says that's a really good way to do it, and it is not the way most of us practice, where it's very visual and people can sort of self-match, and then we deal with the paperwork and call the match and file it away. They have it staffed where they do all the matches. Apparently that's sort of like, I've heard that in the Army, that's some way that they do resource management in the Army. So I want to find out more about that. That might be something we all get to practice just to learn it. And then the other thing, if Frank would come back, but Bill, it's a little bit around the form that you guys use in NICWA. That's not too difficult to introduce because we have like 3 different flavors of the form, but we'll want to talk with you about whether or not you want to put that out for everybody to try out. So when Frank gets back, maybe you and Frank and I can talk after the meeting. So now that you know what we're thinking about with, like variations, that we want to make sure that we expose everybody to the best of the best practices. Does anybody else have something that they do that they think they want to put out there as something we should also test drive in this large group exercise?
Well, it's not so much a different process than what Mikwa has decided. It's what we've gone ahead and put together what we call as hub-to-go boxes. We take a big tub and we make copies of all the forms and all the books and everything else. And it's just one big tub, so that it's the ultimate in remote and need to go or whatever, so that we can give it to somebody who is experienced with putting together a hub. Take this box and go someplace else and actually set up a new hub someplace. And so we've got, I think we're in the process of still putting together, but I think we've got 6 of them put together.
Wow.
And this is between Magnolia, Interbay, and Queen Anne.
You
So we're
show
going
offs.
to have them around so that we could help distribute the actual creation of hubs. Now, there's still some development in putting it all together, as well as who would give it to,
Okay.
But that's something. And so we thought we would maybe bring it to one or both of these hub drills and show them off.
Yes, perfect. That is an excellent idea. So I'd like you to bring that to both, even if we have to arrange it,
Yeah.
somebody who takes it down to the south one. And then West Seattle will bring our plastic holder that we put together. So that's fantastic. We could have an area that's the show and tell of tools.
Yeah.
Perfect. That is a great, great idea. Thank you, Bill. I've got you down for that. I've got West Seattle down for the sheets. So if
Bill,
anybody,
there's a question in the chat about who stores these portable tub hubs.
Well, right now, as Queen Anne hub, I'm going to have one at my house. I'm going to have one in my box. And I think Frank would have one, and Frank would have one in the Magnolia box. And then there's a couple other individuals, I think Catherine herself, and then another woman named Paula Mueller. You may know her from the Urban Survival Skills here. She organizes, she's on the Queen Anne Community Council. And so she's very active in what we're doing here. So she'll probably have the last box. So that's the idea of having some sort of distribution.
so in some ways, it's all exactly what we put in most people's boxes, but also in, a pickup and portable, take it away.
Yeah. I mean, it's reduced and in certain ways, but it's just one big tub.
Okay.
And
Great.
it just an added thing is that we're going to step farther and putting some cheap radios in there too. But
Okay.
that's a different, we don't need to talk about that.
Yep. I don't know, we'll talk with the ACS folks, but they always like sharing best practices. And I'm about to drop off to Anna one of the J-pole antennas that Carl Leon helped us build, so that if you needed vertical heights to get out of a hole, so maybe we'll bring tools like that as well too. Okay. So I will put that in the continued discussion and emails out to people in preparation for this. Is if you're going to bring a tool to share, let me know so I make sure I have enough table space set aside, to put it up and have a way to explain it to people. Anybody else got something they want to offer up?
There's a question in the chat.
I think that's what
Did you see that? Sorry, did we talk about it already?
we did. That was what Bill was explaining on, how it's
Oh, yeah.
stored from Nequa. Yeah. I didn't realize the chat was going on. So thank you, Anne, for calling that to my attention. Okay, so any other questions about the exercise? I mean, you sort of know what we know because I just got back from vacation and Anna and I just talked and we just are starting, so. Okay. There were a couple of people that joined, so I'm gonna ask Jack and Ellen and Patty to introduce themselves. Jack?
Yeah, I am co-captain of the Finney Hub with Jim Durant.
Thank you. And Ellen?
Hi, I'm new with the Roosevelt Hub.
Welcome.
Sort of captaining, hoping for a co-captain.
Yeah.
And then I'm Patty. I'm with us, Sandpoint Windermere. I've been doing this for a couple of years here.
Yep, great. I got an email today from someone, and it's setting up something down in Eastlake with Margaret, who couldn't be here tonight. And, I was like, well, should we meet to talk about the hubs? And he goes, oh, I volunteered at several hub drills in West Seattle. And now I'm going, who are you? That's great. It's so random people are showing up as knowing about the hubs. Wonderful. All right, we'll go ahead and move on from the exercise to some network stuff that's going on. The big news, Matt sent out the latest updated maps. So all our new hubs are on there. I'm gonna beg him to print some up for us, so I'll let you know if I'm successful. I think I have lunch with them on Monday or something like that. But if nothing, we'll use some of our GoFundMe to get ready for people who are doing some of those outreach events, to get those printed in your hands for your tabling. The website is lagging. I will start working on that. All the new hubs are on there. I just have to actually move the lines around on the map and realign some of the hubs. And I'm kind of scared to do that. But now that I'm home on a real computer, I'll take a stab at that. So if you have a need for those quickly, soon, because you've got an outreach table going, reach out to Ann or me, and we'll make sure north or south we can get those to you. Questions? Any comments? On the next topic, I'm not going to bother to put the agenda up because I'd rather look at everybody and see who's got their hand up or something. The city has been doing the webinar series. We just did the third. They just did the third one last night with sheltering. If you weren't able to watch it, now I heard that there was only 31 people on it, and I don't know how many hundred were on the first one, but the participation live has dropped way off, which is in some ways good because they answer all the questions that get asked, but bad because we don't know who then goes and watches it afterwards. I suppose we can ask them how many hits they're getting, but there was a lot of valuable information in there, especially if you are new to, what is it going to be like after a Cascadia earthquake? How will the city support sheltering people and feeding people? And that includes the pets that go along with, the sheltering question. They provided a lot more information than they had in the past. They gave us the locations of where their campus locations are going to be, with the caveat that, the buildings may not be able to be openable, but that's their going in plan. And then they talked a bit about soft-sided sheltering, which is the way of saying you're all in a field and you're in your own tents, or you're under tarps, or you're in maybe a tent we can bring in. So it was a good education. And so make sure you watch it, because that helps you, gives you information for your outreach tables. When people say, well, I just assumed that, and you're able to say, well, let me tell you what the city is saying. And this is all in accordance with their current preparedness planning for earthquakes. So there are two coming up. The utilities in August. Now it's like I go last year and then I go, no, I got to insert the COVID year. So 2 years ago, we worked closely with Chad to do some updating on our knowledge base about how utilities will go. So I'm expecting that the utilities discussion that's going to happen in August will cover a lot of the same things we worked on with them. So how is water going to get distributed? What do we do about the sanitation and waste removal? And what about water? Oh, geez, my brain just went blank. Water, garbage. What's the third part of their utilities?
Sewer.
Thank you. Okay, so that's garbage and sanitation. So, oh my gosh. So hopefully we won't learn anything new and have to update our materials, but that's a good one. If you have questions, especially the new hub captains who go, I don't know what they're talking about, but here's some basic stuff my neighborhood asks about, send those to me or Matt Offlick, because we want to get real people questions to those speakers ahead of time. The fire department went really highly technical on their discussion, which is good. They're an incident command group, and they are highly technical. But when you come to, we just want to talk about water. We want to get as many common questions as we can. And then transportation is in September. And the reason why Matt is actually interested in getting questions from us is Margaret. I was talking to Margaret and she was saying, well, you know, I really want to nail down the rumor that if the bridges go down and the light rail system is opened, that people can walk from East Lake or, you know, the south side of the ship canal to the north side of the ship canal using the light rail link tunnel. And I laughed and went, oh no, you know, there's no way. And yes, that is transportation's plan, is that they will open up those tunnels. I don't know if they're going to run the trains through, but they're going to open up the tunnels for transit. So so those are the sort of things that, you know, like, wow, that's a rumor. Let's get those to people, common questions, make sure that they get addressed in those webinars so they're on tape so that they're available for other people to view. So that's good. And then they can bake it into their presentation and not have it come up as a question at the end. You know, sometimes they run out of time for those questions. So I encourage all you guys who have done tabling or are new to this and going, how does this work? Get those questions in so that they make sure it's a good presentation to start with. Yeah, Erica's saying tunnels are safer during earthquake, but I was sitting there thinking they're going to try and run trains through them, but what if the tracks are damaged or, you know, all that stuff, you know.
But they might not have electricity for them.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. So it was a really good question. So
yeah, there's a whole bunch of geophysics as to why tunnels are safer during an earthquake.
Okay. And then also in the chat is that Anne's going to put the links into at least the 2 webinars that I know the links have gone up, and then the sheltering one should go up in the next few days. It's on the Office of Emergency Management webpage somewhere. So, okay, so outreach topics. Anne, you want me to wait till you get the links in? So, because Anne's primary on some of this outreach stuff.
Yeah, go on to something else, Cindy.
Okay, well, I'll do the night out thing. So we got night out coming up August 3rd. Yep, August 3rd. So there had been some questions about, you know, how can we get word out about the hubs? Because in a lot of ways, the block watches and hubs have sort of become, in some neighborhoods, kind of integrated. So we got permission in the Southwest sector to have, they give out swag bags down here. And so they'll give a bag to a group with, you know, some crime prevention stuff. And our hub brochure for Southwest Seattle is going into those. And so we just happen to, you know, have a really active crime prevention coordinator. But I would encourage anybody who's up in the other, you know, other precincts to see if you can get, you know, localized your local brochures in. I don't know, ACS might want to do something along those lines in some of the neighborhoods. And then because generally they don't ever tell us where your blocks are having activations, sometimes hub captains get on their bicycle and just ride like 6 or 7 blocks around their hub just to see who they encounter and hand out their local cards then. And that can be really fun. It was brutal the couple of years I tried to do it because we have so many hills in West Seattle. I had no idea. Now I have a small electric bike. I'm going to be much more inclined to do it. So that's an idea. Is anybody else planning on doing anything outreach that you can share?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, on Night Out, we have in Southeast around the Oregon P-Patch Hub, there are quite a few block parties. So I also work for an organization that does a lot of outreach, and that's a great night to do it.
Yep. And if anybody needs just basic hub brochures, if you don't have a local one, let Anne or me know, because we both got a stack of those and can get them to you. So I think she said that in the chat there. Okay, so that was Night Out. Does anybody have any recent tabling events that they've done so far? I'm curious about how it's going with the COVID reopening, what the interest level is. Our first one here in West Seattle is coming up on the 6th of August, but I think Finney, you guys had one?
Yeah, Finney and Greenwood had PNA, the Finney Neighborhood Association, has a food truck Friday every Friday. And Pauline Bowie, who I don't see here with the Greenwood Hub, this was her idea. She has a neighbor that's involved with PNA and connected with her, but Anne, always willing to help Forrest, was right there to get us all set up, and she was there the whole time. It was very successful. We got quite a few signups, and there was one ACS guy that I'd never met before, another very enthusiastic ham, and one woman that I was explaining how the hub works, and she kind of, it's almost like she wanted to interrupt me and say, but how can I get involved? I mean,
Oh, what a terrible problem.
so yeah, I was very pleased.
Great. Oh, that's good to hear. If you, so generally, hopefully they'll come to the Hub's website and sign up to be on the newsletter, and then that way they'll get our quarterly newsletter, or you may have to forward it out. Sometimes people will have an event and they'll send me the names and I'll just plug them in. So if you end up wanting to do that, you know, sometimes it's a crapshoot. Can you read their handwriting? But you know, that's how it goes. So if anybody does do outreach and wants to do that, just let me know. Is there anybody else who's had an outreach event? So you were our first one of the year. How was it feeling with the COVID part of it? You were outdoors then, presumably?
It was outdoors, and some people, mostly those that had kids, were masked. Many weren't, and we were kind of thinking, well, what should we do?
Yeah.
And what I did is, when I was speaking to somebody that had a child, I put my mask on.
Good.
But for the most part, everyone was maskless.
Because of the outdoor. Okay. Thank you for the advice about the child. That's a good thing for us to note until that whole thing gets sorted out. All right.
Bill did something too. What it is Paula Mueller, who's on the Queen Anne Community Council, sort of got me into, I'm now a member of the Public Safety Committee of the Queen Anne Community Council. And the Queen Anne Community Council was going to do the community tent at the Queen Anne Farmers Market last Thursday. So I joined her. So I had all of my materials there, the vulnerability map and all my brochures and everything, as well as she had all the other stuff from the SPD, as well as the community council stuff. And so we manned it, and she had different shifts. I did it for an hour at the first, an hour at the end. So we just worked the farmers market for 4 hours, and some people came by, they took an interest. They took an interest in I had the backpack from the OEM. I just called them up and said, I need some of these things for a farmer's market. And they say, how many do you need? I said, oh, I could use 100. And they said, sure. So I went down and picked up 100. Of course, I didn't give them all away, but I now have plenty to use. But we did that with the Queen Anne Farmers Market, and it worked pretty well.
Great. Oh, that's a good reminder to check into your local farmers market. And also at the farmers market, if anybody needs those OEM the backpack brochures in language, I've got probably 6 languages here, and I owe some people some Chinese ones. So I got to go down and pick up stuff anyway. So if anybody wants some interpretive languages, let me know and I'll get them to you too. So cool. All right, we'll go ahead and go on. So kind of similar to that is the outreach tables. You know, we're slowly getting up on those, but some people are starting to send emails out, and we got a request to say, if you guys send out any kind of regular newsletters or information, if you don't mind sharing your kind of like, here's how I communicate to my neighborhood. Just, if you write an email where you go, I think this is going to do a lot of good information sharing, send that to the hub captains. I mean, that's why we have this list, is to say, I'm just getting going on outreach and I'm reminding people what the hub is. And here's the email I wrote that, for example, talks about the linkage between night out safety and knowing your neighbors and hubs. So please do share. We've got a lot of new hub captains who are kind of like, ye gods, how do I do all this stuff? And helpful things would be useful. So, oh, Brianna, I wasn't even thinking of you. I had someone else who I know had asked about it. So, anybody, and that's easier if you just send it out to everybody, then stick it in the Google Drive. There's just not a lot of people who like going to the Google Drive, but if it shows up in your mailbox, it's good. And if you don't want to read it, not a problem. I talked a little bit about languages. Anne's working on our basic hub brochure into its translations. And so not only the OEM backpacks in language, but if you're requesting, for example, Korean, because you've got a high Korean population, don't forget to talk to us about getting that in the language you need. Anne's working her way through getting those into the language. I don't know when she'll have them all done, but we can prioritize. Spanish right now.
Those are transcribed. They're ready to go.
Okay.
I just don't have any printed yet, but I've asked my printer to give me an estimate. So those should be available soon.
Okay, good. So don't forget, we've got the multiple languages and different tools for multiple languages. And then the last thing I had that's just around outreach is I did not have time to put the Finney food truck notice on our website just because it was like I was heading out of town and I didn't know what to do. But if you want us to put it on the Hub's website, because we're starting to get, 700 people a month looking at stuff on the website. I put in where you're tabling and what the event is related to and what the hours you'll be there, and I usually say, stop in and talk to the Hub team from blah, blah. So, I'll pick it up however you give it to me, send an email, you announce it in this meeting, whatever. But that is helpful to let people who are cruising there go, oh, hey, there's something in my kind of neck of the woods. I'll stop in and find out. Okay, now we're going to go to.
Got a hand up from you.
Hugh, sorry.
Okay, let me just put in a plug for August 21st, Ballard Hubs. We're going to be doing a little table at the dedication of the new totem pole in Baker Park at Crown Hill. So, and I think Cheryl also tonight mentioned that she wanted to say any other hub captains that want to come up and just kind of look. Yeah, don't necessarily have to sit at the table or help out or whatever, but just see, hey, how it's done. We'd like to have some folks at the dedication too, which would be fun, by the way. I think Frank even already said he's going to come up. So put that in your thing. I'll send you something by email about the event.
Okay, that would be good. There is a ACS field exercise that day, but not all the Hub people do that. So
right.
For all the new folks, we have all sorts of outreach tools. We have a traveling suitcase that has a lot of standard, here's examples of a kit. Here is a backpack full of pet supplies that you put out on the table and people, kind of have these visuals. There's a north wheel of misfortune and a south wheel of misfortune, spin the wheel and whatever topic it lands on, especially kids, if they can tell you why a flashlight is important, they get candy. So we have lots of tools, and watching someone who's done this before do it, so you can go, well, how do you deal with a 12-year-old who comes up and wants to spin the wheel? How do you deal with the 36-year-old who comes up and wants to spin the wheel? And then the topics and how we emphasize different parts of preparedness. So it's a fun skill to learn. People come up and you can look at them and you go, and there's the dog. Okay, now I know the topic that's probably going to get them really interested is your pet prepared for a disaster? And then they'll talk to you. So all those tricks. Anybody else with anything else? I'll get the info from Hugh later. Okay, we'll go on to Anne, teachable moment.
Yeah, thank you. So our group met multiple times, and it's a really tough topic to get our hands around. First of all, I was hoping to do some good coordination with the OEM so that we're all kind of passing the same message. And if they did anything on Alert Seattle, it would echo what we as hub captains are doing after a small earthquake. Couldn't really get that going. It's really hard to meet people where they are because everybody is in so many different places as far as prepared. And, you know, telling people to buy water as they're walking into the store and they go into the store and there's none left because everybody in front of them has bought it. So now they're panicked. And so, yeah, it's just really hard to meet people where they are and to give them what they need at the time. So one of the things, I haven't had a chance to talk to the team yet, but one of the things I was thinking about was making it really small and giving them access to a YouTube channel or you know, spur of the moment classes, which is easy for me to do. And I'm happy to do that, but give them resources they can look up when they get home. Give them enough to talk about while they're there and you know, educate the hub captains so they can address most issues, but really giving them resources that they can look up when they get home because their needs are just they're just all over the map. Whether you're an apartment dweller, have kids, don't have kids, you know, you're 90% prepared or you didn't even know we had earthquakes. Folks are just all over the map.
We'll have a little bit more of this discussion when we get to the one concern thing because of that variation of where people are and how, you know, how that relates to some more outreach we think we'll be doing. So thank you, Anne, for, you know, at least starting our brains to go, what would we do after an immediate, we had that 1.9 earthquake not too long ago where I'm going like, I was not 2 miles from that. Why didn't I feel it? But,
right,
you know, it was all in the West Seattle blog. I could have been outside the grocery store and, you know, so I just need to get myself ready to go on that. COVID work group. I think that's me. We have everything done and we have one language that we're waiting to get the signage translated into, and it's Korean. So we seem to have stalled out on the Korean. If anybody knows any Korean contacts, it's 21 words. So it's a really short little, you know, job for someone. And I've been giving out $30 gift certificates to the community members here in High Point who've done my languages. And the international district helped us with the Chinese. So it's been really a nice partnership between, you know, lifting some of the people who help us and getting them educated about preparedness as they do this. But Korean's the last one. And once we have all that signage in, I will send out the big print this and put it in your books because it's all ready to go. So almost there. Any questions on that? It's been so long since we talked about it. I'm like, I almost forgot what that whole thing was about. Sheltering work group, Kayla couldn't be on tonight. We're almost in the same place as that. We put our shelter guide that we went through in the deep dive, the emergent shelter guide, out to 5 organizations: a bowling alley, a church group, American Legion, a business owner in Eastlake, and Salvation Army. And we got one request for some advance information, like, gee, I'd like this book early and I'd like to know who I can talk to about getting signs made and stuff like that. So it was a really good comment, proactive. We'll put that in a cover letter for him. The other comment was, you didn't do enough in here about sanitation. You know, how would you open if you don't have water or flushing toilets? And if we do open, what's the plan, you know? And so Anne's working some numbers up for us on how many buckets you might need for a pee and poo bucket system if you're running a shelter for 30 people. So that was the only comments we got. The Salvation Army said, we are adopting this as is because we set up a cooling center and during the last heat wave, and we're just going to use this as is. So it was like, great, we'll get a test drive here and on the next usage. So that should be, as soon as we make those corrections, we'll also send that to everybody. And that will be something that we want to print for you, or get printed into your hub books so that they're detachable and you can go, it's a disaster. We have people who now need shelter, here, knock, knock, bowling alley. Can you be a shelter? Here's your guide, go to it. So that's where we are in that. Any questions on either COVID or sheltering? Okay, the last one is the one concern mapping thing. So that was also a deep dive where we showed you guys the tool that the city is using to do its planning for what and where is the most damage expected in various scenarios of earthquakes, including the Cascadia subduction, excuse me, the Seattle fault is the one they're really focused on because that's the one with the most significant, worst case damage here in Seattle. And so we did our review of all the hub locations to make sure that where we have a hub is in a safe location, and talk to the hub captains about, like, for example, Alki, they could be affected by some liquefaction. And so where would their secondary location be? And we've done the analysis for them on their secondary location. So I think we're all done with that. And so we've moved on to this is interesting information, and to be able to have community level conversations. And I tend to think, of course, West Seattle, we have a community-wide coalition. We talk to all the neighborhood groups on a monthly basis. We talk about the different things going on in the District 1 sector, and bringing that to their attention to say, Seattle fault runs right through West Seattle. So we have this high potential of lots of building damage, but to do it in a productive way and not like you're coming in using scare tactics to re-up the conversation on preparedness. So we had a really good meeting Tuesday about, we're showing you this information so you can take action. And it goes back to the conversation we just had with some people are going to go, I didn't even know about this stuff. And I don't have the bandwidth, the money, the resources to do this major, life-saving gear for 2 weeks. So we want to have actionable steps that people can do, like download Alert Seattle or, sign up for Alert Seattle, do the simplest kit possible, meet a neighbor, something that gives them actions and links to be able to do that. And the representative from One Concern is going to help with any of those presentations out in the community. So we don't get, stuck with some highly technical question about, well, it doesn't make sense to me that this earthquake zone landslide map doesn't show blah, blah, blah. So we are just starting on that. And the timeline for that is nobody's going to be interested in having those kind of discussions until late fall into the winter. So we've got some time to put this together. So we're going to be dry running some of this. The committee will work on it. We'll get it to where we have our first, maybe this is what we think we'll be presenting. We'll send it out and get you guys' comments. We want to make it as universal as possible so that I might emphasize what the Southwest sector looks like for mine, but all the other stuff is common across all the sectors. And then we just put in the new maps to help people understand, here's where we might have the most concern type thing. So any questions on that? If you weren't on that deep dive, I'd go back and go to the YouTube channel and look at that, because that will help you see what it is that we're seeing where we're going, holy crap, it could be bad. And even if it's not horrible, you can compare the damage from the Nisqually earthquake to what we see and know if it's anything worse than what you experienced in Nisqually, that's where we're heading. So questions on that? Andy?
Yeah, I don't know where the raise hand prompt is down here. I just had to physically raise it.
I see that.
Yeah, as we've discussed before, I think we had different approaches to the hub. And I think both are important. One is the community presentations you're talking about here. The direction I was going initially was, what should the hub captain or the hub volunteers know if we have a really bad day? Like, where are local resources? Where should you bother going to check on people? Vulnerable populations and that kind of thing. So what I'm getting at is that we might want to put something out to the hub saying, what if Seattle has a really bad day and you're in your hub, what would you like to have available to you? Including like, where local grocery stores or pharmacies are, where are retirement homes, that kind of stuff.
Well, we have talked about that in the past, that and I know there's a lot of new hub captains who are going, yeah, I wasn't here, but to map your neighborhood right? We had that mapping app that nobody ever used. So it is, I would expect everybody is, as they grow their hub, is starting to have that exact same question. Where's my local grocery store? Where's our buildings big enough to do shelters? Where's the local clinic and pharmacies? But that one concern tool doesn't do that for us.
No,
So
that doesn't.
maybe what you're saying is we ought to, especially for the new hub captains, go through just the importance of knowing what's in your neighborhood. Mi'kmaq, did memos of understanding with their grocery store and some stuff like that.
Yeah, so some of that, I can do sitting in a computer with Google Map and Bing Maps and some of those others in the One Concern site. It's just even if they're familiar with the neighborhood, there may be something they've overlooked. So, but kind of what my vision was to have a template to at least get the creative juices flowing, fill in the blanks kind of thing, and then add whatever else they think is significant. So I just wanted to throw that out as something to be thinking about.
Oh, don't you dare throw something out without expecting an action back. Well, so I'm going to work off on the community level. Do you want to do one, pick a hub, any hub, and do a template of what you're talking about, just as an illustration?
I could do that. What
is there? Let's ask this a different way. Is there anybody on the screen who would like to have him do that? Because I'd like to test Andy's ability to do that sitting on a computer. Well, no, so seriously, I mean, Google Maps is not perfect. What might look like a really good resource turns out to be a hole in a wall grocery store with 3 cans on it because they really sell, cigarettes more than anything else. Is there any hub that would like to have Andy do that kind of analysis?
And my intent is not that it be comprehensive, but that
no,
be a starting point.
If not, I'll let him pick what he wants to do. All right. So Andy, you and I can talk, maybe do Ron Angelus's because, that's, technically the partner you're working with in Southeast.
Yeah. Well, I started working on his and then I found out that wasn't the direction everybody else was going. So I'm basically familiar with that one. And it's kind of a typical neighborhood, having a business district there. And I think there's a retirement home and there's a lot of liquefaction areas around there. So the landslide.
True, I know. It's just that we've talked this topic before, and the action people take is not file maps. It's more like in their head because they get sensitized to, I got to know what's in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so the expectation that 50 hubs are going to, go create these maps, that's where I go, let's show them a template and let people, take it if they want it. But I'm not sure that I can drive 50 people to go do what we've been asking them to do for 5 years anyway.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm proposing is a template just to get the creative juices flowing and, a map is part of it, but probably a text-based thing also, just, giving what the locations are. And it has to be more than just a hub captain because, with my background in the military, my experiences at Boeing, you can't count on that person being there when you need them. So.
Okay, no, I'm happy. That's what I'm saying. I'm happy to have you do the template. It's just what we're going to do with it afterwards. Let's see it, see what juices get moving.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll start on it.
We don't meet for 2 months, so you're good with. I'm just capturing that. So I can check in with him a couple of weeks before the meeting and go, how's that looking? Any other questions on the One Concern stuff? Anything else? Okay, we get to do around the room, plenty of around the room, although some of you I've already heard from. Let's do sectors again. And, we'll just keep doing the same pattern because then it gives you predictability, to unmute. So typically in around the room, it's who you are in your hub. If you have anything to share, if you've got nothing, it's okay, to just wave, say, go past me. And, what outreach are you doing? What questions do you have that you will have for other hub captains? What clarifications are you looking for? And I just glanced at Catherine and I realized I didn't talk about our ACS involvement in the drill. Maybe we'll come back to that after around the room. So Northwest, so that would be you, Finney guys, and Hugh. Hugh's already given us his outreach. Hugh, do you have anything else?
The only other thing is when Cheryl and I were doing the mapping thing, and we did contact Colin about did he have an alternate for instead of setting up a hub at Ballard Commons, which currently is overrun by homeless tents and all kinds of other problems. And he did. He could get to the Ballard Community Council building, which is, I think, about 4 blocks from there. So that was good. And we didn't contact Gilman yet. We didn't get back because they've got kind of the same problem there.
And the plan would be you would just put signs up at the Ballard Commons that says, keep going.
Yeah.
West.
There's a hub somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Finney, anything from the Finney guys?
We're planning to do the Food Truck Friday again in August.
Cool.
And also I forgot to mention Joe Marsh from the St. Paul's Church Hub across from the zoo. He was there. He had said he was going to come help out. And we talked about ideas partnering with them, doing outreach things.
Super. Oh, that's great.
From us.
Yeah, that's a great coalition.
Not outreach, but today I worked with a couple of guys and we finished earthquake proofing improvements on the storage area that we share with the Finney Neighborhood Association. So I finally got positive movement on that. Next thing is to do a setup of our canopies and tables, stuff like that, so we can diagram how the hub would be laid out and have that in our operations book in the hub box.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. Anybody else I'm missing from Northwest? Northeast.
I'll go. This is Ann, Victory Heights. Couple things. So I got inspired by Jim and his the Food Truck Friday thing. We have Food Truck Friday in my community, but it's lunchtime. So they're there from like 11 to 1 or something like that. So I'm going to start doing tabling at those events. My first one is this weekend or this Friday, and I'm going to do not necessarily a hub thing, but heat and how to stay safe. And I've got one of our fans, and I've got the filter you put in front of it to make an impromptu air filter, that kind of thing. So I'm going to start with that. The president of our Victory Heights Community Council wanted me to start off slow and not scare people, which is not really my style, but he doesn't know that. So a little bit of tabling going on Fridays in Victory Heights. I am going to do another class, and I'll be sending this out to the group so you can send it to your communities. Another set of classes starting September 8th. September is Disaster Preparedness Month, so every Wednesday from 7 to 7:30. I'll cover 2 topics. It's really fast. I am done in less than 30 minutes. They are recorded, and then I send the recordings out. So like I said, 2 topics every Wednesday for 6 weeks. And I send out notes so you don't have to take lots of notes. So that'll be coming up. I swear I had something else. I can't remember what it was. I don't know. I'll think of it.
Okay. Patty or Louise?
Okay, well, our next thing is the Seattle Night Out. And so there's about 3 of us that are distributing flyers all around. And then also Gabrielle has announced it on the Neighbors, Hello Neighbor, or whatever website. So kind of covering in both areas.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Louise Laurelhurst, we finished our responder training and are now setting up a live training session. We've just been working with the church. They've had some transition, and so responses are slow, but we've got one. And then in mid-June, we live on a peninsula, and there's 5 what we call clusters. And the 5 clusters had a COVID thaw party put on by the cluster captains. And we totally did what your community center said. And we decided there was no earthquake, no fire. It was just meeting people. And we had a huge turnout, gigantic turnout of people happy. The best turnout we've had for anything, which made me think the focus has to be something fun. And then you slide in the education piece. So the food truck really appeals to me. And I don't know how that works. So if somebody has like a brief outline or how if somebody could give me a leg up, I'd love it. Because I think that would be what we would try next.
Yeah, I've been food coordinator for the Morgan Festival, and you just Google food trucks for hire.
Oh, okay.
And you'll get oodles of choices, and some
Okay.
Want to guarantee how many they'll serve, and others are dying for business.
Yeah,
Louise,
there's one website. Yeah, you put in all your details and they kind of bid on who gets it.
Okay, because
Super
the money
easy.
piece is the piece that was making me wonder, but it sounds like you get lots of info about that. So
Q.
So I just have a little wild idea there, talking about food trucks. Has anyone thought to organize the food trucks for disaster? They could drive around and feed people, for gosh sake.
Yes, that is part of the feeding plan that I've, watched. Office of Emergency Management. They're big on, they know where some of the food trucks are all stored at night. They've mapped those yards that they go store into. But part of it is they have to get the provisions to the food trucks, because the food trucks don't keep the stuff overnight in the truck. But, they did this whole exercise called earthquake in isolation, as though earthquake happens, like especially Cascadia, and there's a big dome and you're left with what's inside the dome and how would you move stuff around. So that's also part of what they use. The One Concern mapping tool is where are the most vulnerable populations that they would have to send those food trucks. Like in Delridge, we have no grocery stores, so there's a food desert down there. So they've had quite a bit of discussion about that. Great, you're right on top of creative uses. So if you've got, disaster happens on the middle of a day and it's Friday and the food truck's there, bring food to the food truck so that they can cook it and distribute it. Right?
Yeah.
Louise, I need to go back to you, and Louise is gone, or Louise is looking at the ceiling.
Oh, no, I'm here. Sorry.
What I got was you had 5 cluster captains meeting, and it wasn't about earthquake, but you promoted it as we're just going to get together and talk about cluster stuff.
It was promoted as COVID thaw and absolutely nothing about disaster. Just coming back together as a community after 15 months of isolation, and the attendance was gigantic.
Okay, thaw, like THAW?
Yep, COVID thaw.
Okay. Thank you. I just trying to get the minutes so I could do that. So
Yep.
that's great. Just a big social.
Exactly.
Anybody else from the Northeast sector that's got anything covered? Brianna.
Our launch party is coming up August 11th, and it's in tandem with the annual Maple Leaf Ice Cream Summer Social. One of the cool things that we're kind of scrambling last minute to put this together, because we normally take 6 months to plan this, and obviously pandemic has put a wrench in all of that. But one of the things that we are kind of impressed with is how normally we have, I think, 45 businesses that sign up and join in, and they confirm like 4 months in advance that they're going to be doing this. So with less than a month notice, we're already at, I think, 18 to 20 tables.
Wow.
And businesses, which is really great. That also means that we have room for some of the other emergency preparedness stuff aside from just our hub. I don't have a confirmation yet on how many tables are available, but I'm pretty sure we'll have room, which is great. So we got that going, and we are in the process of purchasing new locks because of Anne's recommendation. Apparently one of the hubs was broken into that has a box like mine. So we're working on that and still working on getting the rest of our supplies. That's been fun. Our board president retired / stepped down and is moving back to Hawaii. And now I am the board president, which doesn't fit very well, but I'm still scrambling to connect with get the accounts and get all that other stuff and get the funding, and because the money's there, but I don't have access to the money and all that kind of stuff, so I can get the rest of the supplies for the box. And and I just had several people ask for the same things you guys discussed earlier about giving easy handouts of like, okay, I just need the bullet points of what do I, and I think Anne, you had sent something out a long time ago and I was searching for it, but it's something like, what do you do if you have 15 minutes to prepare? What do you do if you have a week to prepare or an hour to prepare? What do you do if you have a month to prepare, a year, that kind of stuff. I think that you were talking about that earlier, and that was one of the big things that I've been asked about by multiple people.
Yeah, we should probably look at our outreach folder in the Google Drive, because that's a really good place to go see what other people have, thrown in there that they found helpful. It's a little bit jumbly, but
Okay. I think that's about it.
Okay.
But if anybody wants to come on August 11th, please.
Do send one out in a reminder, like a couple of days before.
Okay.
That usually works, 2 or 3 days before. I got the neighbor cat crawling around below me, so sorry, I keep whipping around trying to figure out what that thing's doing.
Brianna, what time's the social?
It starts at 6 to 8 p.m. It's a Wednesday, and you'll get ice cream, and there'll probably be pizza or something like that for the people working for the community council. So,
okay,
and I'll buy you pizza.
I had it from 5, and that must have been the setup thing. So,
yeah, I think setup. It was going to be 5:30, and then set up at 5 or something along those lines. I think we bumped it to 6 to 8, and then I think we have the reservation starting at 4. Tables supposed to be delivered at 4. I think is what we're going for.
Okay, great. And yeah, so especially if you get extra tables that urban survival skill demo things, you might want to send out requests for volunteers even earlier for that. If it's just a casual show up and stand next to us and help with the wheel or whatever you've got.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Well, all of this is new to me. I put on the summer social for a couple of years, but I've never done any of this emergency help stuff. So this is all new to me. So I'm relying on y'all.
Yeah, I'll be able to help too. So
great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Anybody else from the Northeast?
Ellen and Roosevelt.
Roosevelt and then Melissa.
So Brianna, I'm sorry I won't be able to be at the social, but I'll see if Gina or Tom could come up and see what you guys are doing. And our little group is really just getting organized. I'm feeling overwhelmed listening to everything on this call, but Anne is ordering our box, so that's good news. We know that the Roosevelt light rail station is opening October 2nd, and I'm trying to work with the neighborhood association that's planning with the city about, pre-opening events. So we're hoping to be able to do some outreach at whatever is going to happen for that. So I'll be looking at the outreach folder and talking to you guys about some materials that we can have there.
Great, cool. And then Melissa.
Yeah, I'm just still working to table at the farmer's market. Just been having trouble kind of figuring that out. So also thinking about alternatives to that. First, I couldn't get in touch with anyone, and then the person that I needed to talk to wasn't there the last couple of weeks at the market. And hoping that they're going to be there this week, but also that they've had a backup of requests from nonprofits to table, and they only do so many of those. So, so I don't know, but also just thinking about maybe instead of doing a table, maybe even just like standing at one or the other end of the market and doing like doing it that way. That's kind of my backup at this point. So just still kind of figuring that out, and actually hoping to talk to someone, the manager from the market for that stuff. So yeah.
Great. All of them are a little bit different. You have to talk to the local one to figure out what,
Yes.
what they'll allow. So good. Good luck
Yeah.
on that.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we got anybody else from Northeast. So
Shauna.
oh yeah, she's on my second screen over there. So now thank you for keeping me straight. Deshauna.
Hi. Ours was the unfortunate box, Brianna, that got broken into. It looked like somebody took a can opener to the key code, like contractor lockbox, and we had all of our delightful goodies stolen out of the box, unfortunately, except for the table and 2 chairs. I feel a bit stalled. I'm talking to the Pinehurst, I think it's the Pinehurst Community Council, and Anne's, as always, oh my gosh, so helpful. And but this feels a little chicken and the egg to me. Like, I want to start neighborhood outreach, but then I can just like, that empty box over there, that's our hub. It doesn't have any stuff in it yet, but it will soon. Like, I just.
No, that's okay, because a lot of us started with no box at all. We have, many of us have just been, we're the location and we're going to bring it from our houses or ask neighbors to provide it the day of. So a hub is not nearly tied to the stuff in the box. It's a good unifier, right? That people get to look in the box, but it's really like, we'd gather here and we would help people. And, it's that building those relationships that you can do in conjunction with establishing the box.
Excellent. Okay, that makes me, that gives me,
yeah,
makes me feel better. And Anne, I am a slacker. I have not bought the lock to replace the keys that were stolen. The locks were still on the box, but I was wondering about, like, does Parks and Rec need copies of that? Like the key?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
All right. So that's next on my to-do.
Are
Go
you
ahead,
going to have a
Brianna.
locksmith come out and, pick it and then create keys for you?
It's open. They left it open in order to steal all the stuff out.
Yeah.
And then they left the locks, which I thought was a little bit odd since they had the key to it, clearly.
No, they were hoping you'd fill it, lock it with the same lock.
Right, right.
Oh, good. I got my keys still. I have an extra lock here in West Seattle because we rekeyed all ours to be, so I've got a spare laying around. Do you want me to get it to you, Anne?
She needs 2.
Oh.
I'm just asking her to buy 2 locks, and I'll reimburse her out of grant money if I can make that happen.
Brianna,
you had your.
Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, I have to buy 2 locks. We're gonna buy the combination one that fits that box. We're not gonna go with the key, and we're not gonna have the contractor lock box because those are awful. Don't use them. So we're gonna use a combination one. I'm happy to give you our other one, but it does seem kind of silly because it's just one, because it only came with 1 lock. So that does seem kind of ridiculous, but
how are you using the combination lock with the locks being snugged up in the box?
There are 2 locks apparently that should work with the box. They are 2 different brands. One's Master Lock, one's, I can't remember the other name, but there's only one from each that will work. And so those are the specific locks that I have to get.
The combo is at the end of the lock, where you stick the key in. So that's where
So
the
instead of being on
thumb
this
dials
side,
are.
it's on this side.
Oh, that seems genius.
Yeah.
Anne, should I get
That's
one of
what
those?
we have
instead?
on, that's what we have on the Finney boxes.
That's so much nicer than, oh my gosh, where's the key? Where's the key?
Yeah.
I think I sent you a link to the Amazon where you can buy those locks.
Those of us with memory
Thank you, Anne.
problems, like I got so many combo locks laying around the house that I have no idea how to open those.
It's critical that you get that correct model number because none of the other ones will fit. So that's something
Right,
that's
they won't
really
fit in
important.
the
The shank has to be the right diameter and length.
Okay. Thank you.
And the thing that you have to be concerned about is figuring out what your combination is going to be. And we use a mnemonic on ours related to the hub. I mean, it could be an address number, you know, for where the hub is, or something that's you could easily figure out for those people
Hub,
that
hub
use it.
spelled out in telephone, right? HUBS on, you know, whatever telephone number that turns into.
The
Yeah,
younger
that-
generation won't get that, but we'll get it.
That's what ours used to be. It was hubs. We're changing it, and I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be.
All right, so I
Thank
think
you.
that was it for the Northeast then. Oh, Cat. Central West. Ron, come get the cat. The cat will meow now all meeting long. Central West, so Frank or Bill?
Well, yeah, I already talked a little bit about my outreach with the farmers market. I just want to make a quick plug. I've signed up for some emergency prep classes. They're offered on Zoom by REI. And they're just like 1 hour long, but there's actually 3 of them covering 3 different parts of emergency prep. Was it Tuesday, August 10th, August 17th, and August 24th. It's like from 5 to 6, and it's just the basic, going over the basics. So if you're interested, I don't have the link information right in front of me. I can't find it quickly. So just go to rei.com and you can probably find their educational stuff. And so they're just free Zoom classes on emergency prep. That's all I got to offer from Queen Anne. Frank?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, because my picture's not up on the screen in any way anymore. No, the only thing that we've got going over here at this point is just local to me. I'm also a Block Watch co-captain up here in what we call Central West and Magnolia Crest. And we're working to see how many people we can get from 32 homes together for August 3rd for Night Out. So that's pretty much where we are. At some point, Catherine and Pam Courtnage and I, the existing team for the West Magnolia Hub site, will get together sometime in August and go through our box and see what we got to add, what we got to change, et cetera, et cetera. So unless Catherine, do you want to add anything to this? Why, go ahead.
Well, I think at that time we'll be putting one of our Hub to Go boxes in the Magnolia Hub box. We will not be putting the radios in just because we want to be able to keep track of how charged they are. However, everything else that goes in those totes will be in the Hub box ready to go if we need one. And then Bill, were you going to talk about Queen Anne Days?
Well, yeah, Queen Anne Days is coming back after taking last year off. And it's just a one-day thing. The Big Howe Playfield, which is right about where the hub sets up, they set up a whole day. And in the past, we have tried to come in there, but they would ask for money and stuff like that, which we don't have. But this year, with my connections on the community council, they're going to give us a table. And so we'll probably be there for most of the day, just to, along with all the other vendors and a couple musical acts and maybe a bouncy house or two. So this is, I can't remember when it is. I got it. I think it's in September. Yeah, September 11th.
Okay. Let us know if you want any of the outreach stuff, like the
Sure.
Wheel of Fortune and all that. So cool. I'll get the times from you later, unless you put it in the chat or something. So anybody else from Central West?
Belltown counts, right?
Oh, yep. Yep. Sorry, Steve.
So Steve Hall, we haven't really been doing much. I've been really busy with work, but I have been working with the condo group that's downtown or in Belltown. And we put together a 2-page summary to share with the condos, and it's still in draft form, but I'll share that with you, Cindy, and it might be something other people can use. It's really focused on condos and apartments.
That's perfect. We talked about that as being one of the things we could share during these One Concern meetings, and a template was something we were looking for. Perfect.
So we got that. And one other thing, I don't know if you can see it, but we have a sign.
Oh.
So I took advantage of that Vista print sale. And we have a Belltown hub sign, so we've notched it up just a bit.
Woohoo!
But
Very cool.
So that's the Belltown report.
Cindy,
Uh-huh.
revisiting the question about locks, what I did when we set up the Belltown one, because as you know, I'm absolutely completely paranoid. And there are stories about combination locks autonomously changing the combination. So what we did was put a keyed lock in there, and then hidden around the back is a lockbox with one of the keys. The benefit of that, at least with Master, is if you copy down the code for the keys, you can have Master make extra copies, which I did. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. So if people show up without a key, they know how to get one, and you don't have to worry about the combination changing. So
For
We
people who
did that, and somebody took we were figuring bolt cutters and cut off that key box and then smashed. Well, we're guessing they smashed it, but nobody ever broke into the box. They just took the lock box we had for our key. That's why we went to a combination lock instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was concerned about that. So the lockbox is hidden around the backside of the box, and we're fortunate that it's in an area under 24-hour video surveillance.
That's what I was going to say. For people who don't know about Andy's box, it's one of the larger models. It's in the garage, so it can be butted up against a wall, and that's where it's hidden. And unlike Parks, which people prowl around the whole perimeter of your box, and anything that's glued to it becomes a target. So, you know, if you have the same situation where Andy is, where it's really well hidden and they can't shift the box to go, what's this thing over here? You'll get the experience that Jack was just talking about.
Or, you know, if it's in a park, you might consider putting a lockbox or even a key somewhere remote from the box where only you know where it is. I'm thinking what it did, we're renting a condo here, and there's no good place to put an extra key near the condo. There's some trees right up against our building, and I just put a key back on the far side of one of those trees attached to the trunk. So, you know, there's ways around it. It's just something to think about. But I'm completely paranoid, and I was worried about just having a combination lock.
Yep. Okay. Then Central East. Let's see. I don't remember seeing anybody from Central East still. Okay. Southeast. We've got some of the new hub captains who are going to go and, you know, fire hose. Thank you very much. But anybody from Southeast got anything they want to share?
Hello again, everyone. Well, I have not found my box yet. I haven't even been over there. So I really look forward to having some of the key problems you all are talking about. And I did discover that the name of the hub is the Rainier Vista Sunrise Garden Pea Patch. And I don't know if you all are familiar with Rainier Vista. It's a Seattle Housing Authority property in Southeast Seattle. And I've lived here for a little over 20 years, right on the edge of Rainier Vista. And the surrounding neighborhood very much reflects the population of Rainier Vista as well, because for many years, folks would move out of that particular place into housing very close by. So we have a lot of languages and a lot of immigrant and refugee folks in the neighborhood. So I am really looking forward to any of the resources that are developing around that. I am not a stranger to working in this population. I've worked for about the same amount of time with a community safety nonprofit that works specifically in Southeast, Southwest, and Northeast Seattle. So there's a little overlap for me around just the outreach, but I don't have any of the training. I just got my ticket on a technician license with ham radio on Tuesday. So kind of dipping a toe in and just really looking forward to getting up to speed as much as I can.
Whoo! And then I do believe I've got a person at the Pea Patch to connect you with. I met Terry on the day before I left for my week vacation. So we're picking up loose ends all over the place here.
Great.
Yep. I will talk to you in the next day or so. Anyone else from Southeast? I think not. Unless Susan, you got anything? And
No,
you know, there's something I have from, I have actually an odd Southeast one, Susan. There is a Georgetown Beacon Hill Coalition building. They have some concerns about safety from the airport, you know, hazardous materials, airline crashes. And so Georgetown has really all of a sudden perked up, and they want to create 2 hubs. They want to actually move from one of the P-Patch locations. They've got a private sponsor who's going to let them put hubs in 2 locations, kind of one in the North Georgetown and one in the South Georgetown. And I met with her the Monday before I left on vacation. So Georgetown might be joining us soon. So they've got a lot of energy all of a sudden, Susan, and they were interested to revisit the connections with El Centro de la Raza. So Susan, I'll talk to you offline about that.
yeah, I think that we can have that conversation. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're currently at Dejan Park. We're right in the kind of in the epicenter of all the rocks being thrown off the. So we're a little overwhelmed. Sorry, there's
And
not much going on.
Susan is one of the rare locations where the hub is in the park, but the box fortunately is across the street in a neighbor's yard. So that's probably the only reason the box hasn't been heaved over the embankment or something.
Yeah, it's worked well. It's very safe there, and we just have been a little overwhelmed by everything going around us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Southwest sector. Erica has kind of a tragic story to share, but I think it's good. It came out good for at least the hub box, if she's still on. Nope. Okay, so Erica's hub is one of the new hubs that was created through the grants, and she had just gotten the box delivered and stuffed, and then the Highland Park Improvement Club was set on fire. And so fortunately, the box was kind of like at the opposite end, or, you know, far enough away that it wasn't caught up and damaged by fire. And we think it, you know, it looks pristine. So whatever water fell on it wasn't a problem. So, you know, so that was the only, you know, positive that came out of the whole thing. The community is really rallying around rebuilding that. So there's going to be some good community spirit to help, you know, this is what happens after a disaster. You all rally and you help each other. Anna, you got anything about South Park? I think we're just in the middle of restocking her. And I think the other new thing that came out was we're going to do some training in the Southwest sector, Mara Farms and West Crest Park. And they will be our first Hubba ones in the Spanish language. And so to go along with that, we created the Quick Start Guide has now been translated into Spanish. So we've got some hub captains that are bilingual, and we've got some that are just Spanish. And so it'll be a good test of what's it like to do training for any other languages. You know, how do you construct that? How do you go slow enough? How do you have decent kind of that inject exercise stuff that you do in another language? It'll be a good experiment for us. So we'll let you know how that goes. And I don't think I see anybody else from Southwest still on. So anything else for the good of the order, or go backs, or ACS? Do you want to say anything? And Laura, you would be our other, if you had anything you wanted to share.
Sure. Just briefly, ACS is going to have an exercise on the morning of the 21st of August. So that shouldn't interfere with the Baker Park thing in Ballard. So we can let our members know they can do both. And then I'm interested in carrying on the conversation with Cindy and Anne about the September exercises and how we can be involved as visitors and as participants.
Cool. Laura, do you have anything you want to, that after all this, any resources you want to point out to us?
Just one thing I wanted to mention is that, which thanks for letting me listen in, the Neighborhood Matching Fund, they just posted a new blog post because they have 3 upcoming workshops, because there's a year-round fund where the applications are open basically, I think until October 29th, and that's the fund that's up to $5,000. And then there's also it's called the Community Partnership Fund, and that's up to 50,000. And that applications for that are due sometime in mid-September. So they usually do a couple of workshops ahead of when the applications are due, just so people can learn more about what the Neighborhood Matching Fund is. You know, if the project that they might have in mind could be funded through the program, that kind of thing. So I just pasted the link for more information about those workshops in the chat if you're interested. And then I'll also just put my email in the chat too, in case you think of any questions that you have for the city. I know some of you all have contacts at the city already, but just in case, I'll put it in there. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and the links, Anne has become our local expert, and several others have done some neighborhood matching funds. And so we've got samples of ones, not just for the boxes, but for doing outreach events. So, so is there anything else in chat that I was missing, Anne?
Not in chat. Brianna's got her hand up.
Real quick question. All the different languages that you guys are translating things into, do we know if we have an ASL community that's next to us or that's in our neighborhood? And I realize things in print are not necessarily going to be a problem, but I'm wondering if there are training materials or anything that kind of stuff in ASL so that people would be able to sign back with these residents.
Well, there'll be kind of two answers. Anne, you want to talk about the video? Where we got with the decision on that?
I don't know that the video is going to help.
Well, what
closed caption on the video, sure. That's an
Okay.
easy one. We also have money for interpreters.
Okay.
So it could be that maybe we hire an interpreter to go that does sign language to go, you know, we talk, they interpret, they do their thing with their hands. That's very doable.
Okay. I'm wondering, maybe you and I should chat then again for August 11th, and maybe that's something that we can make happen. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have really good connections with two disabilities groups. One is specifically with the City of Seattle, the Vulnerable Populations Coordinator, and she gives us a lot of guidance and has a lot of resources. And then Anne and I sit in on a monthly meeting on, I can't remember the acronym, CIEP. It's the Emergency Planning for Disabilities Coalitions.
Right.
And so we're learning a lot about, you know, managing events. And so hint, hint, folks, I'm talking to Deborah about bringing people who are either hearing impaired or vision impaired as actors to your hubs. So that you can be going, how will I deal with this person who is not able to speak or is blind? You know, how do we help these people? They're part of our neighborhoods. We've got to do that. Presentations, we, like Anne said, you know, we'll work to get, if you have a population where you need a CART presenter, you know, where somebody's typing the transcription of a presentation or actual ASL. Oh, Brianna, so didn't we do a deep dive where we had this topic?
I wasn't at that deep dive.
No, I know, but I was going, if there's a video you can watch.
That'd be great.
But I got to remember, I know we did a deep dive with the translators, but I'm not sure we got all the way to the ASL. But anyway, yeah,
Okay.
we're in understudy on how to do this. So it'd be great to have a first test case.
Sure. I would. Well, and it's something that because it's a big community and they're right across the street from the park. It's an entire building, and we're trying to incorporate that in all of our community council stuff anyway. It feels like I would love to get one of them involved in the hub, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I can't communicate with them effectively and get them fired up. So
yeah, one of the members at like the Lakewood Seward Park Hub is visually impaired, right? So she helps them with, you know, grapple with these kinds of questions.
Yeah.
Deborah probably knows people at that and could make introductions too. So, and you might talk to Deborah about that if you get the name of it.
I love you guys so much. You guys are so great. Thank you.
I do have one more thing that's on the north side. We're doing a GMRS radio exercise on Monday. I've sent out the invitation. I think currently there's 5 folks showed up or signed up. I'm sorry. So Yeah.
This coming Monday?
Sorry. Monday, the 26th. So it's a GMRS. We check in with the net on the Maple Leaf repeater, and then we're going to pull off to ourselves and do a separate exercise. And what we're testing this time is if everybody's on one of the channels that uses the highest power setting, which is 5 watts for our little GMRS radios, can we hear each other better instead of using some of the lower power channels?
And is this simplex?
Yes. Yeah, so we are testing radio to radio on as high a power as we can use and not using that repeater in the middle. So if the repeater went down, could we talk?
Cool. Are there anything else for the good of the order? We might get out a half an hour early tonight. Be good, which is good because I'm, the shadow is.
You look uncomfortable.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. This was a great meeting, information filled, and I'm really excited. Oh, Bill's waving his hand here. I'm really excited that people are doing stuff. Oh, he's waving goodbye. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Cindy.
Bye. Hang on. I'm gonna stave on, but hang on. I want to save the chat before I forget that. Save chat, and I'm going to end the recording.
And I'm probably going to call you.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it,
Okay.
Brianna.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.